I want to share with you guys 3 disasters that sometimes does plague us in the month of August. And I think you're going to get a lot from the teaching today. So let's get right into it, because I believe that in the month of August, you're actually going to see some strange things between now, August, and fall. Now, some of you may be watching either the replay, perhaps, and you live in a different country, your climate, your seasons are different. So right now, this is late summer, mid to late summer for us. And so this, you can apply it, but we're going to see some strange things. So what I want to share with you tonight is this is often something you do see in the month of August. Now, look at that. A friend of mine showed me this, and his bee inspector looked at it and made some assessments. And I've got a few frames here. Here's another closer up frame. Look at that. Well, when I saw that, the first thing out of my mouth always is parasitic mite syndrome. It's PMS for bees. It's parasitic mite syndrome. And it's got spotty brood. It's got, bees that are kind of dying in various stages. And generally speaking, parasitic mite syndrome is caused from viruses that are spread by mites. It's just a high mite count that causes the bees to just dwindle down in the fall. And that's known as parasitic mite syndrome. So that's kind of what I thought. I think they did go ahead and do American foul brood test and have that sent off to see if that's what it is. These perforations, they don't look like the perforations that you normally see in American foul brood, because they're not sunken brood. These look more like they're torn open, like they're trying to take out some of the deceased bees. But anyway, be interesting to get the results back. It doesn't look like European foul brood. I mean, I do see some of the larvae that certainly is not healthy, but boy, it sure looks like parasitic mite syndrome. So you may see stuff like this in your hive. I thought it'd be good to show you this, because you do see more of these kind of things in the fall. So let's talk about avoiding 3 of the August disasters, because it's hard to believe. I can't believe it myself, friends. I really can't, that autumn is just a month away. Really, it is 38 days technically. But, from my perspective here in the Midwest, we only have about 40 days until we can no longer perform. I don't think that's accurate anymore, is it? Yeah, I think it is accurate. So about the first week in October, it starts getting cool enough that it really isn't a good time to be working your hives. And so I don't have much more than 40 days where I can make serious manipulation in my colonies, combining or moving frames around, inspecting. I get my first freeze in October. And so, in other words, right now, queen replacements, even today, queen replacements, we're seeing the final days that we can really rest assured that we can order a queen, get her in there, get her accepted. And if that doesn't go well, order another one and get her accepted before it's just too cold to do it. So this is red alert time. We are getting at the season where we do have to stay kind of like busy getting the weaker hives and the questionable hives ready for winter. So let's talk about it. I got 3 disasters to share with you. Big disasters. So one of the biggest ones that I see, and remember, I've ran B Team 6. I've headed up B Team 6, a mentoring program, for 8 or 9 years now. So I've been able to gather a lot of data from beekeepers all around the world, particularly in the US. And this is what my data shows that people struggle with in the month of August. Beekeepers oftentimes have queen issues, and I'm calling it unnoticed queen issues. Because if it's noticed, beekeepers can do something about it, right? If you have queen issues, if you see that your queen isn't laying well, spotty brood, if you see no queen at all, then you can take action. However, there are times when beekeepers don't really know, either from a lack of experience or not a lot of time observing what a good queen looks like. If you just had the same queen for the last 2 years, you got nothing compared to. But anyway, sometimes beekeepers have unnoticed queen issues. And that means that their queen may be slightly failing. And that's the worst scenario. If you have a strong queen, all is good. If you have a very, very weak, bad queen, okay, I got a bad queen, I need a new queen. But if you have a slightly failing queen, she's running out of gas, running out of stored sperm. She's still laying some, but not a lot, not as much as you need. She's maybe getting old or wasn't mated well. She performed good all summer, all up until now. And now you're wondering, I don't know how to tell if I've got a slightly failing queen, because sometimes you can have poor fall flow of nectar and your bees can have poor nutrition in the hive. And it starts to look like it's the queen's fault, because poor nutrition and a lack of a flow can reduce the amount of brood that you see. And you might respond by thinking, I'm going to replace the queen. Well, you know what? I've thought about this and preparing to share this with you tonight. I think it's a safe thing to do is to go ahead, if your queen is appearing to be subpar, is to go ahead and replace the queen. I mean, if you've already spent a fortune on bees, let's face it, you're going to have to spend what, 70, 80 bucks to buy a queen and get it shipped to you maybe. And if you can find one and you don't like how your queen is performing right now, I think you ought to play it safe and get a new queen in there. I really do. I mean, you're gambling if you don't. And it might be a gamble that works out. It could be that your bees are very hygienic. I opened up one of my very hygienic hives. It looked like a little bit of spotty brood. Not terrible, but yeah, not great. So, but my mite counts are extremely low in that hive too. So they're pulling out pupae that have mites on them, getting rid of the mites. That makes my capped over brood not look as good as I want it to. So there could be those things like that. And you hate to break up a good thing, right? But on the other hand, you hate not to and ruin the whole hive. The whole hive dies in the winter because your queen totally failed in the wintertime. So put that in the back of your mind if you're not satisfied with a lot of brood, because we need a lot of brood now. We really do. In the next month or two, I've got to have superb laying queens to lay a lot of eggs of winter physiology bees. So, can your current queen not only be outstanding now, but will she be able to be outstanding next spring? That's when the rubber hits the road. So if she's starting to show signs of not being so good now, and she goes through winter and she gets worse, you're really in a pickle then, because it's hard to buy queens right away coming out of winter. So that's one big disaster. We'll talk more about it in a second. The second big disaster is compounding accumulative summer issues that start to just spill over in greater intensity and volume into late summer and into August, into fall. Yeah. And I talked about it. Parasitic mite syndrome is one of those. Parasitic mite syndrome it means that your bees really did not control mites very well, or maybe you didn't as a beekeeper. You weren't on top of it, and the mites spread a lot of viruses. The viruses took their toll on the hive, and now the bees are dying and their population is getting low. I want to speak to parasitic mite syndrome a little bit more, though. It doesn't take millions of mites to turn things bad in your hive. Only a few mites can actually start spreading viruses pretty quickly. They really can. And of course, they reproduce. But sometimes there are mites that are more clean mites. They don't have a lot of viruses that they spread. On the other hand, you can have a lot of mites in your hive, but they don't have the viruses so much, and they're not spreading as many viruses, making your bees sick. So you can have both of those scenarios. A few mites that are very infested with viruses, or you can have a lot of mites that aren't. And so the consequences are going to be different. So parasitic mite syndrome doesn't always mean, I've heard people say that they've kept their mites under control and they still had parasitic mite syndrome. And so be looking for it. I showed you some pictures. If you're just joining us, you can watch the replay and look at the images of what I believe to be parasitic mite syndrome. The accumulative compounding issues that we see in the summer sometimes aren't seen in the summer by beekeepers. until they get so bad that beekeepers start to see them in early fall. And they think, oh my gosh. Now, some of the things are not necessarily bad. Like some of the things you're going to see, your hives are going to become very much more defensive. They're going to be defensive colonies because they're larger. They got more honey to protect. They're not flying as much, they're not foraging as much. Everybody's home because after the dearth starts, there's just nowhere to go. So they're going to be much more defensive. So don't go to the hive in your bikini and your shorts, tank top. You got to dress for the fall and protect yourself from being stung. But like I said, there are going to be more pests and diseases that really start compounding, primarily small hive beetle. We're going to get more humidity in August, more heat in August. That's going to give the small hive beetle more reproductive juices to really get reproducing good, as well as some mites. Mites have been able to expand more as your hive has expanded because all the mites reproduce in the cap cells of developing bee pupae. And so as we get into this time of the year with more brood, we have more mites. So those are compounding effects right now that are happening. Mites become more essential to control. The third thing is hives begin to fail. Hives can abscond. Even hives can swarm in the month of August. I've had hives that have swarmed in the month of August, and I said, "What are you doing? You're driving me crazy. Don't you know what's coming? Where are you going to go and make a home for yourself in 2 months before we get frigid below freezing temperatures? What are you doing to me, bees?" I don't know. It's a nice day outside. A fall nectar flow starts up. Bees get energized to reproduce, make a swarm, and away they do. They do it. You know, they're not able to look at my cell phone and see what the forecast holds in January. They're looking at things like, hey, we got it made. Look at the nice weather. Look at the nectar flow. Let's swarm. Anyway, hives can fail because of the reasons I mentioned earlier, and they do sometimes abscond. Sometimes they can get so many beetles in there they abscond. Due to all these issues we talked about, new beekeepers also become very overwhelmed and they become very frustrated as well in the month of August. So let's talk about some solutions. Anybody can talk about problems. I remember once I worked for I had a different career, and I remember somebody once said to me, don't bring problems without bringing solutions. Anybody, I think they said it was just kind of a tough old guy. And he said something like, I could have a third grader bring me problems. I don't need that. I need solutions. Okay, so let's talk about solutions. Evaluate your queen and replace her if necessary. Judge her by the amount of brood that you see and judge her by how old she is. If this is her 15th year to be with you, please don't overwinter with her. If she's really more than 3 years old, it's very risky that she'll be your queen next year. Or if she does, she'll die out really soon. She'll run out of gas soon and they'll replace her. So think about the age of that queen and then evaluate your cap brood. Again, sometimes in the fall, though, without a nectar flow, cap brood doesn't always look beautiful. It can be spotty in the fall. So don't panic. That might just be a lack of food and they're bringing pollen in and shoving it in holes around the brood area. I've seen that too. The other thing I want to talk about is the final thing is I got a feeling that some of you, you might, hopefully none of you, but some of you might get to a place where you feel like quitting. It's okay if you have to quit. I think it's legitimate for you to say, this didn't work out. I'm not good at this. I don't know how to do it. I don't like doing it. I don't feel comfortable doing it. Don't feel bad about that. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing. You do you, you got to be happy. Don't stay in it just because you feel like you have to, or the club's going to call you an idiot or something. Who cares what they say at the club? Who cares? You do what you want to do. If you can't stay in it, walk away from it and be happy. But if you know you love it, and you just made some mistakes like we all do, then you have to learn from those mistakes and sharpen your blade a little bit more, your knowledge blade, get back in the game, stay on the horse, cowboy up and get it done. So if you're wanting to stay in it, if you need to stay in it, you have to stay in it, for your mental health or budget reasons, whatever, let's have a reality check. Yeah. Let's talk about before you quit. Look how much you've learned. Oh my gosh. You've packed away. There's no way I would ever give up beekeeping now because I know so much about it. I've learned so much and I'm learning so much. And there's so much I don't know about it. I never claim to have the corner of all knowledge. I don't claim that you have to do it my way or the highway. I don't believe that. I think you have a right to keep bees the way you want to. I'll never criticize you for it. I shouldn't say never, but you do what you want to. But yeah, you got to have a reality check and think about how much you've learned and how much you've really invested. Think of the time that you've invested, the money. Let's be honest, beekeeping is not cheap. I don't know why most people act like it's cheap, but it's not. People ought to be more honest about that and straightforward. Beekeeping is not cheap. I made a live stream last week and told you how much it cost. Cost over $1,000 to start your first year with just the minimal stuff, not cheap. And you've invested a lot of energy into it. So before you quit, you want to think through, am I really wanting to lay down that much investment, give up that much time and energy and money and just call it quits? Or do I want to stay in it? Are you quitting for the right reasons? There you go. That's what I'm trying to get out of my mouth here. If you're quitting for the wrong reasons, just because you're mad and angry and you're frustrated, that may not be the best reason. But if you're quitting because you have anaphylactic shock, you're quitting because you just don't have the money anymore, you're quitting because you moved to a tiny little apartment and you just can't keep bees there, I get it, But if you're quitting because you're frustrated, rethink it. And look, this might help too. Sometimes when I'm frustrated in other places, what I'll do is I'll buy a book on the subject and I'll read more about it. Or if I'm in a hobby, I have a lot of different hobbies. And if I get kind of, crossways about a different hobby, like say cycling, if I get like, I don't want to cycle anymore, sometimes I'll go buy a new derailleur. And I did say that the UK way, derailleur. And so, I got to keep biking because I just bought a new rear derailleur on my bike, and I bought a new set of wheels. Oh boy. Sometimes putting a little bit of investment back into it, you kind of feel like, okay, I'm back in the game now. You can read books about beekeeping and sometimes I get inspired by books. Look at this. This book I started with, I've mentioned this and I found it on a shelf. Some of you that are fans of my YouTube channel and you've watched a lot of my videos, you've heard me talk about when I started beekeeping back in the 90s, that almost 30 years ago, there was no internet. And I always say that somebody threw a book at me called ABC XYZ. Here's the actual book. Wow, look at that. And it's amazing. I read through it. I couldn't get enough of it. And I looked up what date it was printed. I think I always teasingly say it's from like 1932. This book was actually printed in this version. It's been reprinted so many times. I think it does go way back. But this was printed and updated in 1978. So it was like, 20 years old practically when I got it. But I wanted to show you a page in here because, if you follow my YouTube channel, I'm trying to figure out how I can put bees from a Langstroth hive into a tree. Look at that. That's crazy. The whole, part of this book talks about that. So I wouldn't recommend that you get this book, just an old version. I think they update it quite often. The 78 doesn't have mites, doesn't have small hive beetle. So you got to have a more updated book. So that might help you to stay in the game, take a class, read a good book about beekeeping. And I think it might start to feel better for you before you quit. So those are some things in August to prepare yourself for. The big thing is just be prepared and just understand that beekeeping is not easy. Of course not. And if it was easy, everybody would be a beekeeper. So it's fun. I think it's a hoot. I've done it for a long time. I would never give it up. I love my bees. I love working bees. I love helping beekeepers, and I'm here for you. So my efforts are to keep you in the game, and I hope you do. So that's a good teaching tonight. All right, let's see what I want to share. If we need to do anything before we start taking questions, I don't believe so. Let's see what kind of questions everybody has on their mind tonight while I wet my whistle. Avon wood. My mom used to sell Avon. Yeah, I remember one time I was having a hard time. um, I was so poor at one point, and anyway, I wanted to get out of the careers, and I thought I would do anything. I would even sell Avon to get out of this. I don't know. Do men sell Avon? Can you explain how to use your candy boards? Do you open the hives in the coldest winter days to replace them, or just one lasts all winter? Very good question. I need to make a video explaining all of this. I probably have many videos, but I know it's hard to find them. Yes. Okay. Hang with me here. So, what I have always promoted and I do myself is that I put my winter bee kinds on sometime in December or January. And at that point, my hives are pretty strong. And a winter bee kind for me it can last a week, it can last 4 weeks. It just depends on how fast those bees get in there and start eating it up. It's fine to open that hive up, open the top up, take the winter bee kind off and replace it with a new one at any temperature. I've done it for decades and it's great. It doesn't hurt the bees. Bees don't heat the inside of their colony like we do our homes. They heat each other by close proximity, clustering together. And so, yeah, I choose a better of the worst days. Like I'm not going to go out there on the coldest, rainiest ice storm and open up my hive just because I don't want to get all snowy and wet. But I'll wait. I've gone out there at all temperatures below freezing. It only takes maybe 15 seconds to pull that one off, put a new one on. So you don't even really have it open that long. It doesn't hurt the bees at all. Yep. And how many you will need, it depends. Laurie, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. I have a YouTube membership that's well over 100 people now supporting the cause of my YouTube efforts, either as a Nectar novice or a Beak Squad ambassador, donating monthly to prop me up. And I do appreciate that. Yeah. And thank you for those of you that are donating to the live stream tonight. I do appreciate that as well. That's awesome. We do have Beak Squad apparel, hats, and things with the Beak Squad symbol, as you see over there. And Candy is great about doing that. There's a website, her website going by now. You can email her. You can check out her website and get a Beak Squad shirt, hat, something, a cup, a tumbler. And that'd be great if you want to support the Beak Squad. Sherry and I do not keep any of the money from that. We just let that all go back into Candy, who's doing so much of a great job taking care of the Beak Squad merchandise for us. So be sure and grab that. Yeah. Okay. Randall, why must we supplement with supers off when using Honeybee Healthy and Amino B? Next year, can we use the comb they stored honey in while they were being fed for personal supers? God bless you. Well, that's a good question. Anytime I'm feeding bees, Randall, I don't like to have honey supers on there, even just sugar water. Okay. So I don't want just plain sugar water being made into honey. No, those things are not bad. They're not unhealthy. They're not anything dangerous that gets absorbed and stayed in the comb or anything. Of course, you can use those supers again. I make it easy. I dedicate a super to each of my hives, and that's the one they'll overwinter in. Yeah, you can use that next year. Bees will clean it out, eat it, store their own honey in there from flowers. That's what we're looking for. Good question. Oh, by the way, this is Bobblehead David. Somebody asked me what this was, and it's actually me. See, that's me. And I had to wear sunglasses or the camera will focus on that, David. And this is a bee suit. It's not pajamas. It's not a NASCAR uniform. It's not an astronaut suit. This is a bee hat and veil. And at the bottom, he's saying a little thing says, please subscribe. So if you're watching, please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it. Yep. All right. Another question. Does the eviction of drones coincide with the production of winter bees? I still have loads of drones. Does that mean they're still making summer bees? It doesn't have to coincide, no. But the timing is pretty close to being about the same. In other words, when you start seeing your drones being kicked out, they are going into a winter mode, obviously, because they're saying, hey, Bob and Richard, I'm referring to drones, you guys have been great. We appreciate you. but your time with us is over. We just can't afford to feed you all winter. We got to be more conservative. We can make more drones in the spring. So bye. At the same time, they are wanting to get into that winter mode of winter bees of physiology. So uh, it may not be exactly the same hour, but it's awful darn close. Marianne Livingston became a member of my YouTube channel. Well, thank you. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, appreciate you being supportive of the channel. Ralph, new beekeeper with questions. Oh, wait a minute. A new beekeeper with questions? I've never heard of that before. That's something unusual. No, I'm kidding. How do I know when there is a dearth? I still see flowers. Yeah, that is tough. There's no magic number. We want to have beekeeping as a cookbook science. We want dates. We want times. Everything else, you take medicine at a certain time of the day. Your car holds 17 gallons of gas. You could bake a cake at 350 degrees. We all have these numbers, right, that we need. But beekeeping won't give us that. It's so subjective. It just changes. And so the best way to understand a dearth is, there's going to be a dearth when you don't see flowers anymore. But there are some flowers you can see that bees don't go to. So that could still be a dearth season. Really hard to pin it down. I wish I could give you an exact date. Hey, Carmen, thank you for your super sticker tonight. I appreciate your guys supporting the channel. And by the way, if you don't want to leave a donation here on YouTube, always go to our website at honeybeesonline.com. There's a place there that you can donate to the live stream. It does cost us a little bit of money because we live way out in the middle of nowhere, and getting internet out here is pretty tough. So we appreciate you helping us support the live stream. Redbeard Hives. Hey, Tim Sanders. Hi, David. Have a question. One hive has a deep and 2 supers on top. The ladies had filled the brood box. The last month they have moved up to the supers. There are very few in the brood box right now. Any idea? So it sounds like all your brood has moved up, right? I know. I've seen that too. And I always feel that if I can keep my brood low and my honey above them, that's my best scenario to go into winter. But Tim, I've had the same scenario where I've just seen all my bees go up into my top brood and the top box and put the brood up top. Well, my fallback is I'm feeding them my winter be kind boards. So that's that. In the old days, I didn't have an option to feed them in the wintertime. And so those scenarios where they get up in where the food is before it's even winter, it seems like they're going to die then. So by feeding them, it doesn't matter for me where they're going to set up their house. I'm going to feed them on top of where they're at. I've seen that before. Yeah. Thank you, John Henderson, for your super sticker tonight. Appreciate that donation to the live stream. Guys are very supportive. I work hard for you guys, making a lot of videos. Hope you enjoyed the videos that I've produced this week. Hello, Melissa. Goodbye, Melissa. There she is. Okay. Oh, thank you from Maine. My daughter and her family just traveled over to Maine and all out east and all. Last week, I shared that I removed 8 queen cups before making sure I still had a queen. But I have remembered that I heard piping during the inspection. Virgin queen, maybe. Yeah, most of the time I have heard mated queens pipe. I've had mated queens in battery cages, and I've heard them pipe. I always thought it was only virgin queens, but I've heard mated queens pipe, and that means I want fed. But anyway, it is a trait of the virgin queen, and I'm going to illustrate right now what the piping sound sounds like, because some of you are like, what does a piping sound of a virgin queen sound like? Let me get my voice ready. Here's what it sounds like. You ready? Me, 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 me. Sound like that. And then another queen, a virgin queen nearby may go a little bit on a different key. Me, 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 me. Me, 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 me. It's like, whoa, I got 2 or 3 in there. There you go. What do you learn on a live stream? Never knew what that piping noise sounded like. Thank you, David. All right. Oh, by the way, I did the video where I pulled my finger down the glass of an observation hive and the bees just froze. If you haven't seen that video, it'll freak you out. And I've been trying to figure out a way to make something to do that. And I read something recently that a very loud noise will make bees freeze. And I've got a device that makes a horribly loud noise. I can't wait to try that. If the weather gets good, I'm going to use it. Christy, man, time's going fast. Christian from Stockton, Alabama. That's my youngest son's name. Wants to know if we can feed honey that doesn't taste very good back to the bees. Of course. Yeah. As long as the reason it doesn't taste good is because it's from a natural source. There are many natural sources of honey that just doesn't taste good to us. And a lot of you know what those are. So yeah, sometimes if it's just from odd plants, it's going to taste funny. But if it's got something else in it that's not healthy for bees, then no, I wouldn't feed it back to bees. Play it safe. Good to see you all tonight too. Good to see so many of you here as well. Hi, Samantha. Does feeding the bees with supplements affect the comb? We use the Honeybee Health, Amino Bee, and your protein. What if they store it in it? I'm in Urbana, Maryland. Oh, Maryland. Yay, Maryland. I enjoyed being in Maryland last week. It really doesn't affect the comb. I mean, everything affects everything, right? I mean, the butterfly effect can cause a tornado somewhere else. But as far as being noticeable, I don't really think so at all. We use such a small amount of it with our sugar water, and then the bees metabolize their sugar water to make comb and feed bees and all. So that's something that I just don't ever worry about. Yeah. I'm having fun tonight. Sweet Vapors. Made some feed with honeybee healthy and amino acid and thought my bees were going to eat my feeders. They took a gallon each hive overnight. Sometimes a lot of people think it's the product that you're putting in there, and it could be. Some people say that it's just bees are hungry. Now, one of the things I've noticed is bees will always eat sugar. That's why bees like alcohol. I did a video where do bees get drunk when they drink Sherry's vodka? Sherry doesn't drink vodka anymore. But anyway, I used some of her vodka one time. I made a video and the bees loved it because most alcohol is made of sugar, right? And so bees like anything sweet. I'm shocked that people come up with new products and beekeepers like, oh, I just brought this new product and my bees love it. Well, of course they do. It's sugar. People ask me, I put a banana in the hive and bees love bananas. Well, of course, vegetables have sugar, carbohydrates in it. People, don't be surprised when bees eat sweet stuff. That's what bees are known for. They eat sweet things. You can make your own product. Find something sweet, sell it. Beekeepers will be astonished that bees love your product. Oh, I'm being silly tonight. Thanks, Dean, for your generous super sticker tonight to support the cause here. I appreciate it. Yeah, bees love sweet things. I started eating somebody handed me at the conference, they handed me some kind of probiotic, looked like a candy bar, right? And it was green and it was for bees. And I tasted it and I loved it. I think I've eaten 2 candy bars already. I don't know if it's bad for you or not, but it's, I love it. I mean, I thought if it's not going to kill a bee, I can take it. I love the taste of it. Susan, hi, David. First year from New Hampshire. I have a lot of beekeeping friends in New Hampshire, so I appreciate you being on tonight. Today, I saw a charged, uncapped super seeder cell, plenty of brood, eggs, and larvae. Isn't it too late for them to make their own queen? Should I pinch off the queen cell? No, don't pinch it off, Susan. Please don't pinch it. I did that one time and they never did raise, they needed that new queen. The old queen's failing. I like the word charged. I'd like to know where it came from. I never heard the word charged until about 3, 4, 5 years ago. Somebody said the word charged. And what that means is that, just like you said, you look in a queen cup and you can see inside of it. And sure enough, there's a larvae with royal jelly. And we'd say it's charged up. So I would wait and let them try it and be ready to order a queen if it doesn't work out. But I think they can raise it. There's probably still drones in your area. Yep. Hang tight. Let them do it. Sometimes bees know more about what we're doing than, oh, wait a minute. Sometimes bees know more what they need to do than what we think they should be doing. Yeah. All right. I got a few more minutes, a couple more minutes for questions, and then we got some. We're going to do the spin the wheel and a giveaway. So let's take a few more. And Sarah, working on strategies for winter, wondering about quilt boards and what winterizing you use in your region, since we are similar. Okay. Uh, Most of my YouTube channel, Sarah, is answering your question. I mean, really, if you go to YouTube and type in David Burns winter, you will binge watch me over the last 16 years of me telling you how I get my bees through the winter. Can't take time to do it right now, but please watch all my videos. I talk about wrapping bees. I talk about screen bottom boards or solid bottom boards in the winter time. I talk about how to raise bees in winter physiology and so on and so forth. Hey, John, David, when my neighbor sprays his field with Roundup, will or how will that affect my bees? And how should I protect them? Thanks so much, John. I think that's Black Dog Apiary. Here's the deal, John. When it comes to Roundup, it's killing the weeds. And there are many that claim that it does bother the bee's gut if it gets there. But nonetheless, anytime you kill weeds, you're affecting bees. Bees need a broad spectrum, a variety of pollen, and they're the most healthy when they have a large variety of pollen. And when we start spraying and killing weeds, they sometimes only have one source or a minimal source of pollen. That's not good for bees. But it certainly is not equal to a pesticide or an insecticide. I want to take one more. Hey, thank you, Tanya, for your super sticker. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it so much. I'll take one more question, then we're going to dip into some giveaways and spin the wheel. John, how are you? One of my beehives, the queen is gone. They have got multiple queen cells. Is it too late to have a queen mated in Oklahoma? How can you tell a queen has been mated? Okay, good question. Very legitimate, John. I would say that if you see queen cells and if you look in your hive and you still see drones in your hive, which will not mate with that queen, but at least tells you that other hives in the area have drones that will mate with your queen. And I wouldn't be worried. If you see thousands of dead drones out front over the last week, probably not going to get, the queen mated if they're already killing the drones at that rate. How can you tell if a queen is mated? The only way to tell really is to look and see if she's laying eggs. I have dissected queens before and took out the spermatheca and examined to see if it was full of sperm or not. And you can tell that way, but you can never put her back together again. She won't live. So the only way to tell is make sure that things are looking good for the queen laying a lot of eggs. All right, we're going to do a giveaway of the book that Sherry and I wrote a couple of years ago. Oh, it's not autographed. Well, we'll autograph this one for you. Yeah. And so this is Backyard Beekeeping, everything you need to know to start your first hive. It's got a lot of stuff about our personal life in here. So if you already know how to keep bees, but you want to read a lot more about Sherry and her dad and me and things that happen. And Sherry's got a whole bunch of recipes in here. Sherry did not just write the recipes. She wrote a lot of things on pests and diseases. Sherry is a very sharp beekeeper. She wrote half of this book with me. So we're going to give this book away now. So we're going to use hashtag book, as you see there, and leave it in the comment, hashtag book. Don't need to capitalize it, and you don't need to enter your name in thousands of times. It won't help you any. Hashtag book, and we'll get this book sent to you. If you live really far away and we're not able to ship all the way across the world to where you live because of various cost or whatever, we'll try to substitute it with an online digital product that we can get to you much easier. Okay. Hashtag book. So that's great. This is a good book to have if you're facing winter. And I know many of you watch my channel that are thinking about beekeeping. So this will be a good one for you to get. Or if you have a friend that you want to get into beekeeping because you want to keep bees with them because they're your best bud or something, but they don't keep bees right now, give them this book. And I think it will energize them to become a beekeeper. All right. While you're keep your comments coming, I'm going to get the spin the win wheel over here. Get it all set up and ready to go. Okay, we're close to drawing a winner. Robbie, you can draw whenever you feel ready, buddy. All right, here we go. Let's see who's going to win the book tonight, Backyard Beekeeping, that Sherry and I wrote. Boy, it really slowed down. Alex, you're the winner, Alex. Congratulations. Those of you that want to get this book and you didn't win tonight, it's always available on our website at honeybeesonline.com. Alex, be sure and email us within 24 hours at longlanehoneybees@gmail.com. We can get that book sent out to you. All right, let's spin the wheel today and see where it falls. A lot of options for you to still be a winner in the last few minutes tonight of our live stream. You ready? Here we go. Where is it going to land? Good to be with all of you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, it's just going so slow. Safety tip. Safety tip. Safety tip. Oh, safety tip. Safety first, people. Yeah, well, beekeeping is a little bit kind of like has a risk factor, right? With being stung. And so anytime that you are working with bees, there's an opportunity for you to be stung. And so I want you to be very cognitive of being stung can result in either a local reaction or a anaphylactic shock. Now listen to this. Just because you've been stung before does not mean that you'll never have an anaphylactic shock. I wish I could say it did, but it doesn't mean that. In fact, I've heard, I'm not a medical doctor, but I've heard people say that it can maybe increase your chance of having an anaphylactic shock. So you always need to be aware that you could have an anaphylactic shock, which means that your body starts to be systemically affected by the venom. You have, let's see, I always get that confused. You would have an increase in blood pressure. Now I'm confused. It'd be an increase in blood pressure, wouldn't it? I'm backwards on that maybe, but anyway, and the shot kind of stabilizes your blood pressure. Sometimes you have restricted breathing with anaphylactic shock, and you can die within an hour. So it's very serious. It's what happens when people are allergic to peanuts, for example. Same thing. So we have to be very careful about that. It can happen anytime. So here's what you do to be safe about it. Keep your cell phone on you, because you can call 911 if you start reacting where you can't breathe or you can't walk, you can't really think clearly. You want to have your cell phone. It's good to have Benadryl on you. That's gonna slow down and help you a little bit on the effect about that too. And if you're totally unsure, or if you're kind of borderline anaphylactic right now, always wear as much protective gear so a bee cannot sting you, and do not inspect your hives alone. Always have somebody else with you, and because they can be there to help you. So we do need to take this serious. It is a serious issue that can be troubling. So be sure and be cautious about that. All right. Dare we spin it again? Let me look at my clock. Yeah, we're going to do it again. I'm always afraid it's going to come to a crazy story, and I've got to tell a crazy story. Wow. That's getting close to. Oh, guess the item. Okay, guess the item. Here you go. Get ready to leave your comment. What is this? This was actually featured in the 2023 Master EAS Master Beekeeper Field Test. That some of the candidates had to identify a lot of items. This was actually still item number 2. I'm not saying it's going to be used again, but it was used in 2023, 2 years ago. And so what do you think this is? Now, I know you can say what it is, but what do you use it for? Put down why would you use this? That's a better question, right? All right, better question. So in the last few minutes, write down your answer, identify this thing here. What is it? Very nice little orange thing. Well, if you count the spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I believe they make these in different numbers too, but this is a 9-frame spacer. It is typically used in the honey super. You pull one frame out and then you use this to evenly space out your 9 frames in your honey super. And by doing that, the theory is your honey super frames will be drawn out wider, thicker, which means they can each hold more honey. And it's been alleged that 9 wide frames will produce more honey than 10 commonly sized drawn out frames will. I don't know if that's ever been proven or not, but it sounds good. Sometimes I've tried it and they didn't draw it out any wider. So it's not a guarantee. But yeah, that's what this is. And I was taught by a commercial beekeeper not to use these, or not to use them, but he said you don't need to use them. Take one frame out and take your 9 frames and shake it like this, and they all naturally even out by the shaking, and they do. It was amazing. I was like, wow, that's brilliant. Things you learn from commercial beekeepers. Wow. Did I cover everything? I think I did. So we're going to be signing off here in just a few minutes, but I want to take an opportunity to tell you guys I appreciate you so much. I get a thrill out of making beekeeping videos because I'm getting to know so many of you. I'm getting to know you I see you in person at conferences that I speak at. I see you in person at conferences that I attend. I see you on my comments. And so I'm feeling like we're getting to be a large family, like a large community. That's what it's all about, people hanging out together. And I try to keep my bee live streams down to just an hour because I know your time is precious. My time, your time. We have a lot going on in our world, in our lives. And so I realize I don't want to keep you on here for 2.5 hours. I mean, some of you would enjoy it. I would enjoy it, but I'm dedicated to appreciate your time that you give me. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the donations. I appreciate all the donations that you send my way. We use them for good causes. It doesn't take much at all to think about that. We give a lot of things away here on our live streams. We give classes away. Sometimes we've made our classes free for those that were watching that night. So we give a lot of things away, which, costs money. So your donations help us to continue to spread the goodwill of beekeeping to more and more people. So I want to thank you all for being a part of my live stream. From Sherry and Robbie and Jessica, we all want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for taking time and being here. And I'm going to be following up tomorrow with a follow-up on this live stream, talk a little bit more about some of the things that were brought up. I will try to answer, maybe not all, but I'll try to answer some of the questions that I didn't get to tonight tomorrow. So we look forward to David Burns live, unedited, raw, sitting in the green chair in tomorrow's video. So be looking for that one to come out as well. All right, everybody, appreciate you being here. I love you guys. I hope your week is going well. And I really do hope that you can be inspired to, look at life cheerfully with happiness, even though you may be going through some tough times. I'm really hoping that life brings you happiness and well-being and the strength to really get through whatever you have to face. So cheers. I'll see you next time.